What's up, guys? It's your girl Stacey Cake, your host for What's Hot, and today I am here to explain and review Final Destination Bloodlines. If you have not seen the movie yet and you want to know a little bit more about what it's about in a lighter note, make sure you guys check out my trailer reaction for Final Destination Bloodlines. I believe I did 2 videos about that, so make sure you subscribe and check out those other videos. And yeah, let's get into this. So if you're new here, the way I typically do my videos, we're going to do an explanation, and then I'm also going to talk about some pros and cons about the film, and then I'm going to rate the film out of 5 flames at the end of this video. So if you guys are interested in like this type of content, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and stay tuned. And yeah, let's get into it. So Final Destination Bloodlines. So just overall like synopsis. So the movie kicks off with this couple, Iris and Paul, and it's the 1950s, and Paul is surprising Iris with a nice, beautiful dinner date night at this new place in town called Skyview. So it's like the grand opening night, and he wants everything to be perfect, and he's taking Iris to Skyview. Like, she's ecstatic. So he takes her there, and stuff kind of like is going south kind of right away. Like, the people aren't like honoring their reservations, so they ended up having to sneak in, and just like all these little things. And you can tell Iris is feeling nervous about going up so high from the jump. There was like issues with the elevator. We hear details about how the construction of Skyview actually got done 5 months early. Like, all of this stuff indicating that this is like something is off, and Iris is feeling it. But she's trying not to ruin the night, because her boyfriend obviously did something like a great gesture by getting her this reservation on opening night. It's supposed to be a beautiful romantic night, and she doesn't want to kill the vibe, so you can tell she's trying to like hold it in, but her nerves are like already like, yeah, I'm not really feeling this. So we fast forward, they're having a good time. We find out she's pregnant. The singer for the evening has her son there, which is significant. So we meet that little boy. Iris has a small encounter with the singer and the little son. They're black, and she like has an encounter. We find out Iris is pregnant as well, so she has an encounter with the singer and the singer's son for the evening. And we find out during that encounter that Iris is pregnant. Then we fast forward, she goes outside on the Skyview terrace, like the balcony, to get some air with Paul, and there's a little like chubby kid throwing pennies off of the balcony. So this is where the penny thing comes in. If you've been seeing content, people talking about the pennies, this is why. So he's throwing pennies off of the balcony. One of the tenants that works at Skyview is like, hey, that could hurt someone, don't throw him off of there. He's being a little jerk off, and throws the penny anyway. It gets stuck in like this little spinning fan thing. Cut back to Iris and Paul. Iris and Paul are talking. He ends up proposing to her. She tells him she's pregnant. They go outside. They have a good time. People are dancing. The party, they're singing the Temptations. You know it makes me want to shout. Put my hands up and shout. All that good stuff. Having a good time. But we start to notice little like cues. Like, if you're familiar with Final Destination, you know the cues. Like, the wind is blowing, like fire, like it's just all the signs that something's about to go down. Plus, the big thing we see is a crack on the glass dance floor dropping down to nothing. So yeah, it's now you know it's getting messy. So death takes its course, and long story short, everyone dies, and the penny has an important effect. The penny falls like cuts the fans off. It makes its way on top of the piano. So the Skyview building is like hanging half down. It's a Chinese woman gripping the floor for her life so she doesn't slide down and like up against the glass window and fall to her death. and it's a piano sitting right at the edge of this half right here, and she's hanging from here. She ends up falling and smacked down on the glass, but the glass doesn't break. So she's looking down at her death. The glass doesn't break. The piano is edging. The daggone penny falls on the piano, tips the piano over, crushes the Chinese woman, kills her, the window breaks, and it just gets tumultuously deadly after that. So much so that Iris and the little boy are the last to die. So Iris dies first, spear through her head, which is significant. And then the little boy, we don't see him die, but obviously he fell from a very high height. That's the opening scene. So I was a little detailed with that because I just thought it was a really cool opening scene. And I know that's a big deal when it comes to Final Destination movies. But to like sum up the rest of it, that was a dream that Stephanie, our main character, had. And that dream is what leads her to seek out Iris, who is her grandmother in real life. So Iris didn't really die. Iris is still alive when we start the movie. But Stephanie is having this dream of this encounter, which she finds out isn't a dream. It was actually a premonition that Iris had that night, and Iris was actually able to save everyone from Skyview that night because she had that premonition that Stephanie was dreaming about. And that's how we open the movie. Now that dream leads Stephanie to seek out Iris. Iris tells her like, what's up? Like, yeah, like death. Iris is like living alone, isolated, crazy woman type vibes. She's been avoiding death for years because death is mad at her because she stopped everyone else from dying. But death has been picking off all of the survivors in their bloodlines, hence the name, since the whole thing happened. So people have been dying slowly. But because she saved so many people that night, like more people were born than what were supposed to be born. So people are living on borrowed time essentially. So because Iris was able to save everyone that night, people left, people continued with life. They ended up having families, having children's children, and all that. And Iris was supposed to be the second to last to die. The little boy was supposed to be the last to die. So Iris is like holding off death from her family, but as everyone, all of the other survivors are like being picked off and die, like it gets to Iris. And Iris has been holding this thing off for years upon years. And she's had her own family, and her children have had children, hence Stephanie. So Stephanie is like, yo, you crazy? Iris was like, all right, you think I'm crazy? I'm dying anyway. I got cancer. So I'm going to show you how crazy I am. Iris steps out. Here, take all my notes. Take all of my life's work that I've been researching and putting together because y'all think I'm crazy, but I'm telling y'all death is on our heads. Take all my life's work and I'm going to die to prove my point. She steps out, gives her the book, spear, like the little, I don't know, the little windmill thing that points north, west, south, the compass that goes on top of a roof. Somehow, life, butterfly effect type vibes, and a spear shoots through her head and she dies, like in front of her granddaughter. Crazy, craziness. Okay, like crazy, like I couldn't imagine seeing that. And like Stephanie is like covered in blood. So then Stephanie is like, yo, like she's kind of believing it now, but she's trying to brush it off, whatever. She starts doing research about it, whatever. From there, people in the family just start dying. And Stephanie is like trying to warn her family that like, hey, like grandma wasn't crazy. Grandma knew what she was talking about. And after Uncle Howard dies, crazy death. After Uncle Howard dies, she's like, okay, like, no, really. Grandma Iris was on to something. Like, you're next. And craziness. So yeah, death is like starting to pick off their family one by one, and it's going to make its way to Stephanie, and then the coroner, Tony Todd, who was actually the little boy that we saw in the premonition that Iris tried to save from the opening scene. The little black boy who was the son of the singer from Skyview. So yeah, that's how it's all connected. Crazy, guys, crazy. So if you guys haven't seen this movie, I would just say go see it. It's a lot more in between that, but I just wanted to kind of give an overview of it and like some of the highlights, the major points, and talk about that opening scene. But now I'm going to get into my review for the film, pros and cons, and then a rating at the end. So let's talk about pros. I think one of the biggest pros for me was their ability to incorporate stuff that OG Final Destination fans love. They were able to incorporate in this film. So for example, they keep hinting about the logs. So obviously the team for Final Destination, production team, the writers and everything have their ear to the streets because people always talk about the logs. If you're unfamiliar with the logs, watch Final Destination 2. So it's like a tractor full of logs that's supposed to kill everyone. But the main character in Final Destination 2 prevents it. So though that tractor with the logs, sorry y'all, my dog is being dramatic. Logs makes a reappearance in this film, and I thought that was just like chef's kiss and like definitely one of my favorite parts of this film. It pulls on that nostalgia that we all have because Final Destination has been around for a long time, and their ability to just keep expanding on this franchise and come up with new ideas that psychologically like just scare us in everyday life is crazy. So that was definitely a highlight for me, their ability to kind of incorporate that. As well as like the bridge. They showed an overview of a bridge. I don't know if that was like intentional or like an ode to one of the older films, but I noticed it and I thought that was a pretty cool thing. Another part, I felt like they had some really good quotes in this one. That was a highlight for me. And I know one of the big ones everyone was talking about was Tony Todd. Rest in peace, Tony Todd. This was his last film before his passing. And I know one of the big quotes that everyone was talking about, he said in the film, "Life is precious. Enjoy every single second. You never know when. Good luck." And he's always like around when death is like making its mark. And so I definitely like enjoyed like kind of that quote from him, and it was kind of ominous. And then he like walks off and start whistling again. Like, sir, like, you know what's up. I also kept noticing the guy Eric. He's like made a big appearance in like a lot of the trailers. He said nuts a lot. I don't know what that was about, but he just kept saying nuts, 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 nuts. And he wasn't even the one with the nut allergy, and he just kept saying nuts. I don't know. I noticed that. Another one, "You look like $1,000,000. So I loved, this ties into my next highlight, or pro. I loved how they connected the beginning with the end. So spoiler alert. So in the beginning, like I said, we're in the 1950s. Iris and Paul are going to Skyview, and she was like, it was a surprise. So he told her what like to dress up, but she was kind of self-conscious because Skyview was obviously like people of wealth were in attendance that night, and she wanted to be sure she looked the part. So she's like, "Oh, like, am I dressed okay?" And Paul tells Iris like, "Oh, you look like $1,000,000." And they bring that quote back at the end when Stephanie's brother is going to prom, and the girl he's going on a prom with comes out, and it was like, "Oh, you look like $1,000,000." Clue, death is back. So the way I love when films are able to tie everything together. I felt like that was just like the bow on top of the cherry on top. That death is like, I'm gonna finish my plan relentlessly. I'm gonna do this the way that I wanted to do it from the beginning. And it's all the details are like gonna come back. And it's like that idea of history repeating itself. That's what I want to say. It was like this whole like kind of thing of like his ode to history repeating itself. And I just thought that was a great touch. Another highlight for me was like their cues and consistent indicators that death was coming. I thought that was a nice touch. The scene with the opening scene had like them playing like music that kind of was foreshadowing what was going to happen. Like they were singing something about a ring of fire, and then the elevator not working, and then the flag blowing being an indicator of the wind. And before people die, they like prick their finger and we see blood. Like those are kind of like reoccurring indicators that death was coming, and I love their consistency with that, not just in this film, but over the course of the franchise. There's just been little indicators of like. Another highlight for me was that Eric wasn't Howard's son. There's no way they dropped that Maury moment on us. That joint was crazy when they said that. That was definitely one of my favorite parts of just like the synopsis and the plot twist of that. That Eric was not Howard's son, so like we definitely thought he was about to die. Especially when he was in the Pearson shop. I mean, that's the scene we see in the trailer, and it's like so clear that he was about to die. And so when he came, like, and he was still alive, that shit was crazy. And just come to find out is he's only alive because he wasn't Howard's real son. I was like, no, he's not the father. I mean, to be fair, Howard knew. It wasn't like Howard didn't know that Eric wasn't his son. But Eric didn't know that Howard wasn't his daddy. Like, it was just, that was funny, especially Eric's reaction, like, when he found out who his real dad was. He was like, him? Is that why he always wanted to play catch? So that joke was just, that was funny. I was like, you are not the father. Y'all know how I go, Maury. That's literally the only thing I could think about when I was watching that scene, and I was laughing way too hard in the movies. And then another thing about the ending, so the logs killing Stephanie and her brother at the end, crazy. I was like, bruh, the way they brought back the logs, again, like they knew, everybody kept talking about how realistic that was for the logs to like kill people in the second one. Everybody's still afraid to ride behind trucks that have those logs with like metal poles and stuff on them now because of Final Destination. And in Final Destination 2, they didn't die from that, but they said, no, in this one, we're going to bring it back. We're going to spin it back since y'all afraid. We're going to show y'all how these logs can come back and not even seem relevant. And them logs left Stephanie like a freaking skid mark on the street. I was like, no. But I was so irritated because I was like, okay, so you know death is after you and the train is coming. For all that to happen, why would you stop in the middle of the street? Why wouldn't you keep running or get on the sidewalk if all that was about to happen? You gonna stand right there and think it's over. Like, are you dumb? Like, I would have still been running. It's no way I just would have stopped and turned around. That's why they got killed by the logs, because they be looking for comfort too easily. Death is on your head. Did you see how Iris was living? Okay, I'm going on. I enjoyed, this is going to be my con or my not so favorite thing because I felt like it was a little phony, but this was kind of on both ends for me. I enjoyed the scene with Eric and his brother when they were in the room with the MRI machine. I enjoyed how it unfolded, but I also am going to take this to lead into my cons because I feel like, is an MRI machine that powerful? Because somebody leave in the comments, is an MRI machine that powerful that it could suck a whole wheelchair? Don't get me wrong. I get that the machine malfunctioned and it was a supernatural force here. I get that. But if we're like using the natural to cause death, like if the supernatural force is causing natural things to occur to cause a death, how did the MRI machine suck up a wheelchair? Can somebody tell me, is an MRI machine that powerful that it could suck up a wheelchair? A wheelchair? And it was pulling things from other rooms and connected. And then it pulled that daggone spiral thing out the vending machine. This is where I was like, okay, then we got to draw the line somewhere. I get the man had to die, and you wanted things to like have a domino effect. But I feel like that was reaching a little bit. Like, I don't know. I feel like for that vending machine to like, for that to happen with the vending machine is crazy. First of all, why would the spiral thing come out of the vending machine? Like, that part didn't make sense to me. But it was an enjoyable watch, I will say. So this scene is like on a pro and a con for me because it was phony, but like it was captivating. So like the way it unfolded was still a highlight for me. Like it was enjoyable to watch, but at the same time, just like considering like how nature works or like how I would assume magnetism works, I don't think that magnetic field was that strong. But I can appreciate how death got messy because that was another part that I liked. that was another quote that I like. They said, when you F with death, things get messy. And Eric F'd with death. So that's why I said that whole scene was kind of on the pros and cons list for me. In that same token, I feel like there were some like phony moments just a little bit, just like the way the sequence of events had happened. I'm just like, yeah, I feel like y'all was reaching. Like, I feel like prior movies, it was a little bit more realistic of things. But Death was just like going off. And then so he was just like, I guess, impatient anymore. Like, he had waited for so long. And now he's just like, nah, like, it's time for all of y'all to die. I do feel like the logs at the end, so I know I talked about this. I like how they incorporated the logs at the end of the film, but I feel like the sequence of events of how it occurred was just phony. Phony. I don't know. Like, I feel like they would have made better off, like, if they would have, like, been running from the train, right? So say, you know, at the end they running from the train, and they run into a main street, and the log snaps off, rolls down, and kills them that way. But like for the logs to like come over the train and slide down and turn them into a skid mark was wow. I don't know. I feel like I had mixed feelings. I get what they did, and like I liked it, but I also feel like it was phony. Just like how it played out was just phony. Then the damn penny. Okay, like everybody's walking around telling they're afraid of pennies. The damn penny. So the old lady that took the penny, because the penny fell out of Iris's, notebook when Stephanie was walking with it. Old lady picks up the penny. She goes to buy some lemonade and a cookie. The daggone penny rolls and gets into a train track and stops it. Now I did like, again, them connecting the beginning to the end, but for a penny to stop a train track, like mess up the train tracks, is wild. Like, I feel like a penny would have flipped over or been crushed, like with those train tracks. I don't see it holding off those train tracks that way to derail a train. I just think that part was phony. I get they had to do something with it, and they wanted to like be creative with it, and I can appreciate the creativity, but I just feel like that part was like a little bit of a reach again. But let me know what you guys think about this movie. I thought it was pretty good, but it was some like phony major like components that I felt were a little phony. I almost forgot. Something that really stood out for me in this one was there were no premonitions. So like how in the other films, someone would be having a vision about what was about to take place. Stephanie wasn't having premonitions in this one. She was aware of the clues and when things was about to happen, but there were no premonitions of how people were going to die. So whatever force was trying to protect people before and give them visions, like, it's been capped out, because they didn't give Stephanie that gift, or anyone in the family that gift of premonitions. So I thought that was an interesting decision and a good way to kind of mix things up. But I also kind of missed that component in the movie, like someone being able to foresee what was going to happen. I kind of missed that part a little bit. She had a dream, but she didn't really have like a premonition about how her family was going to die present day. And so I thought that was an interesting decision, but I did kind of miss it. And that's another thing that's kind of like on the pros and cons list for me. They have, a whole lot of cons for this movie, but I feel like the cons that I had, it was just because of phoniness. Like, I mean, it's supernatural, so that can be argued that nothing is phony when something supernatural is involved. But it felt phony. Like, it just felt unlikely. Like, I feel like we could have had a different sequence of events and certain things, and I did miss the premonitions. So with that being said, I'm going to rate Final Destination Bloodlines a 3 out of 5 flames. I did think it was good, but I do feel like the phoniness, like the realisticness, is what's lacking. So like if I'm trying to tell somebody about the movie, like I'm gonna be like, yeah, it's like a little phony, but it was good. It was really entertaining. Like, it was really fun to watch. It's definitely a fun watch, and like it's definitely some scenes that's gonna have you like on the edge of your seat. Like the nose ring scene, obviously, the lawnmower to the face, trash truck scene. Like, those scenes are definitely gonna have you at the edge of your seat. But it's even the logs at the end, but it's like still like some phony moments in it. Whereas I feel like the other ones didn't quite have that. Like I thought the tan in bed and that other one, that was one of my favorite scenes when I think it was Final Destination 3 or 4 with the tan in bed. And I was like, that was one of my favorite scenes with the tan in bed. But like this, I feel like the sequence of events, like it took more to happen for them to get to the point of death. And I just feel like some of those components were just phony. I mean, it's always a little bit of a stretch, but it just felt like more of a stretch this one. So that's why I'm rating it a 3 out of 5 flames. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. And I will see you guys next time.